You ready? Okay. Hey, good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. I know it's a busy time of year, as evidenced by it's a little bit lighter crowd tonight. I understand because Kate and I can definitely speak firsthand and say that a lot of events going on in the fall here. So I appreciate your taking your time out to be here. If you could go to the next slide. So the agenda for tonight, we're going to start off, talk through some Civic League business. Then we're going to talk about some future enhancements, some incredible enhancements that are coming to Jeff Robertson Park besides the glow line that we're going to do the ribbon cutting for here soon. And then we're going to kick over to Mr. Mike Hawkins from Fairwinds Landing to talk about the new development there. So before we get into that, though, I just wanted to give Officer Dreer a chance to give us an update for crime stuff because I promised him I'd let him get out of here soon. He's got other business to take care of. So over to you, Officer Dreer. The microphone for the Zoom folks is here. So, yep.
Thank you, Scott. So this is your crime stats report from September 16th to today, October 20th. So I am seeing an uptick, not just in West Ghent, but also across Hampton for the Ghent area. We've seen an uptick in stolen vehicles recently. It's still the same with the manufacturers being Kia and Hyundai's, the push to starts. I don't know if you guys have seen the news reports with the TikTok challenge and all that, but there's criminals out there. I don't know if, they're, gangs or what they're calling themselves or whatever, if there's something to do with points. I have no idea. I haven't read into it. I don't know how that works, but I'll just give you the locations of all these incidents first. So we had 4 stolen vehicles and we had 4 larcenies from autos. So 1600 block of Claremont, we had a stolen vehicle where it was a Kia, where the steering column was broken. It was actually recovered a block away. Stolen vehicle, 1400 block of, is it Lee Street? Lee Street. There was a Hyundai where the steering column was broken. And in all his reports, it says damaged, the steering column was damaged and there was wires hanging. So whether or not these guys, and for these ones as well as some in Ghent, what I noticed in the narratives was it sounded like they weren't in the car long and or they might have cracked the steering column and messed around with the wires, but didn't steal the car, but it was still labeled as a stolen vehicle. So it might be part of that TikTok challenge where they're not actually stealing the car because they don't know how. I don't know, but exactly 0 points. So the 2 other stolen vehicles, one was in the 1000 block of Gates, which was a Hyundai. The other one was in the 1000 block of Gates Avenue, which was a Hyundai, which this one stated that the spare key may have been hidden inside. The victim didn't know. So out of the 4 stolen vehicles, 3 of them were Hyundais. One possibly had the spare key hidden inside, and 2 of them, the steering columns were cracked open and they got to the insides of those. As for the larcenies from auto, we had a total of 4. And out of those 4, 3 of the 4 occurred during the daytime. So to touch on those, one of them was in the 1000 block of Spotswood Avenue. This reports that nothing was taken, but it was still categorized as a larceny from auto. One of them was in the 1000 block of West Princess Anne, where the victim had 2 iPhones, a tablet, a wallet, miscellaneous items. And this was actually one of the ones that occurred during the daytime. Happened between noon and 1:30, and it was a worker who left his vehicle unlocked. The other ones were 1100 block of Redgate Avenue, where 2 Apple laptops were taken. This was between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. And the worker was unsure if the vehicle was locked. And then the other one was 1100 block of Old Brandon Avenue, where an iPhone, a tablet, there was a AC contractor which had his vehicle unlocked. So again, if you guys are having contractors come out to your houses and doing work, if you guys are home and you guys can, mention to them, just lock your car. It takes a second to just hit the button or turn the key and lock it. You know, if there's an issue in the neighborhood going on like that, you just got to remind them. As for personal items, I keep harping on all my civic leagues. Don't leave it out in the open. Just put it in the trunk. If you have to leave it in the car, put it in the trunk. It takes a lot longer to get into the trunk than it does busting a window, reaching in, taking whatever is visible. Okay, especially if you get reports of, you know, 2 Apple laptops. I mean, that's a couple $1,000s right there. So, but that's it. Any other things? Any questions for me?
I just want to add, we've got a good meeting with the precinct captain, the sector lieutenant, a lieutenant from the ODU police department
Who has recently retired from us.
Yep. And
With
then
the ODU.
The captain from the EVMS police department here last week. And I think you probably should expect to see, especially if you live in the southern end of the neighborhood, probably some more just EVMS police department just circulating. I mean, they're not taking turf from these guys, but like a police car is a deterrent, and they said, why not? Right. So we should expect to see that. Everyone's all in on from the police department cooperation wise with us.
I have seen an EMS guy. Right.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's good feedback.
Well, I don't.
Like in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have much to pass on that, and I don't know if they've touched on it with your meeting, but EVMS and ODU is supposed to be merging soon. I don't know. Just the police departments. Yeah. Not the schools. Yeah. So on the law enforcement side, I don't know how that's going to hash out, but
the timing's unclear, and that's kind of why the ODU police guy was there too, is just because for continuity. And so we'll play it by ear, and we're just grateful to have it. I feel like it's a bonus for us. So we'll leverage it as best we can. Yeah.
But again, I just want to touch. If you see people breaking into cars, try not to intervene. You know, if you can do from the safety of your house, try to be the best witness, give the best description, modes of you know, escape from what they're doing and stuff like that. And you know, from past reports that I've given, when people intervened, they got guns brandished at them, and they actually shot some people on different sides of the city. But definitely your cars and your personal items, it's not worth it. So anything else, just call 911. All right.
All right. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I think I feel like the same takeaways that we've been trying to reiterate messaging on. I don't think I heard anything much different on what we're asking of folks around the neighborhood to do. So that's moving on to upcoming events. So we'll lighten up the mood here. This is a good way to change the mood. Kate's going to come up and talk about, and David, I think we have a slide for this. Some Civic League stuff that's exciting that's coming up.
All right. Hi, neighbors. Thank you for coming out tonight. Just a few quick updates. If you probably read in the newsletter and on our social media that Hocus Pocus, our pumpkin party movie night and now also chili competition, is this Saturday from 4 to 8 p.m. So we're going to have pumpkin painting with Outside the Lines Art Studio for the kids from 4 to 5:30. The chili tasting. If you haven't let us know that you're, entering the chili competition, that's fine. You can on our website just do one simple click and let us know, because we're just trying to plan how many tables we need. We were a little bit crammed last year, so we'd like to give everyone a little bit more space. And that'll be from 4 to 5:45, and then we'll announce the winners with a few fun prizes at a little bit before 6, before we start the movie. Definitely bring like blankets, chairs, bring some extra food in case you're not full from the chili, bring some extra snacks and stuff like that. We will have like a sweets table with some cookies and sweet treats. We'll have some kiddo beverages, and then the movie will start at 6 o'clock. We're also going to do some popcorn and just like little brown lunch bags. We'll kind of pass that around for the families or for everybody. And then volunteers. So mostly we'll probably need a little bit of help at the end for cleanup. We have a good amount of people for setup, and also for the pumpkin painting. We need a couple people to just kind of monitor the tables and help any kids that might need some help. And the chili table, just kind of refilling some supplies. So there's a sign up sheet on the email I just sent out, or you can just email us and I can let you know where you can be of help. So next is our best decorated block and our best decorated house for Halloween. We already have some votes coming in. And we made it really easy this year. Just go onto our website, and on the homepage, you can just click and type in the block number, street name for your favorite block, and then for your favorite house, just type in the address, and we'll announce it on November 1st after Halloween. And then what Scott mentioned, the glow party that's coming up for the glow line. We are super lucky to have this pretty much in our backyard. And it's October 29th from 5 to 7. And they're going to have everything for all ages. The ribbon cutting will be at 5:30. If you're into doing yoga, they're going to have yoga at 5:15. Or kickball, you choose. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And we really want to get the neighborhood out there so that we can support the ERT, because they're just doing amazing things for everyone in Norfolk and for our neighborhood.
If you haven't gone up there yet, and when the sun goes down, it's absolutely surreal.
Yeah.
It really blows. It's kind of disorienting in a way when you're walking on it. It's pretty fascinating.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I know. We're so lucky. It's like right here. It's awesome. Yeah, so definitely mark your calendars for that. And then lastly, fast forwarding into December, just don't forget about our tree lighting with the Westover Garden Club. They're working really hard to make that happen, and it's going to be a really fun event. So that is it. That's all the updates we have for events. I think next slide. I'm also talking about. We had to, Courtney.
Neighbor Marcella, so I painted this on your house, Marcella. What paint the post? I'm like, sure, Marcella. She's like, great, I'll do the bottom. So up I go, and then she'd say, well, do you mind if I just step away? Like, I was like, no.
No.
Yes, that was Marcella and me.
Well, thank you. Oh, that's great. Okay. That's good. It's not that hard, right? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so we have, at our house, we have 3 paint kits. So you can come, or you can just, communicate with us, and you can come by anytime, pick it up. It's got everything you need in it, except for a ladder. You need a ladder, and not just any standard household ladder. 8-foot ladder is a requirement on that.
We do have one you can
We do
borrow.
have one you can borrow at our house. And so basically, you just clean it up, make sure there's no loose paint on it. And that honestly takes probably most time, but once it's one coat of paint, paint's amazing.
Yeah.
The city said specifically what kind of paint to use, and 3 people, 90 minutes, 2 people, 2 hours. And you've done your part for the neighborhood. There's 51 of these in the neighborhood, and we've knocked out 4, soon to be 5. So we're making progress, and I just appreciate everyone's input.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's unique to our neighborhood.
Yeah. It makes a big difference.
So a lot of people stop by and talk to you while you're doing it, but I'm on the ladder. Seriously, Marcella's the other way. I'm like, you have it.
Yeah. I think so. Well, definitely. We appreciate you taking the time to do that. And really, anyone who would like to just email our WGCL feedback email, and we can coordinate to get you a paint kit. It's really easy. And we do have one ladder, that is our ladder, and we're happy to loan it out. And then, you can always ask around to neighbors and see if anyone else has a ladder. So that is it for the signpost painting. Oh, and one more thing about that, we're working with resident Taswell Hubert, and he is going to kind of help organize as well. And he's going to plan another kind of group day where we paint. I think it's going to be the Brandon signs, but that'll probably be early November when he's back in town. So keep an eye out for that. We'll send an email. And then lastly, the proposed new bylaws. I had a lot of fun typing those. So they're ready to go. They're on our website. You can read the old ones and the new ones to compare. And we basically just changed a lot of the areas that, as far as like what the board of directors does, what the committees do, how we do elections, voting, that kind of stuff. We brought it more in line with what we're actually doing. And so feel free to read through it. We want to hear from you. Send us your feedback. Let us know if you have any suggested revisions that you'd like to see or any changes, let us know. And then in November, we will go ahead and vote on the new proposed bylaw. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. All right, thanks.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, we're aiming for a November vote. So if anybody's interested in reviewing, I know we've already had a few people to give us some feedback on it, and we're of course happy to do that. Next order of business here is we would like to conduct a couple votes. And so Matt, you know, did a great job as our vice president, but you know, his job situation has become more demanding, his home life become more demanding, and he said, hey, you know, I'm going to step back and so Kate has volunteered to step up as vice president. So I'll just ask for what we did last time. I think is probably the most way to do this is all in favor of Kate Chero becoming the Civic League's vice president, say aye. Any in favor, say no. I did note as we were reviewing the bylaws that it says upon resignation of the president, the vice president becomes the president. She threatened to. And then secondarily, this is kind of a new position. It's not refilling a position. We've been advertising the events committee chair for quite some time, and Annie Culver, who did not, she couldn't make it tonight, but she did a fantastic job, like unbelievable job with the happy hour we did down at Smart Mouth here, I don't know, last month. And she's enthusiastic about taking a more active role with the Civic League. And I think it's fantastic that she's wanting to volunteer her time. So similarly, anybody? Okay, no one against, I assume? You want to lead the events committee? Okay. Well, we welcome her participation. In fact, we welcome anybody's participation as, you know, in the neighborhood. So I think it's a good step forward. All right, moving on. So now I would like to invite Liz up, and we're going to, while you're walking up here, Liz Pace is from the Norfolk Garden Club, and she's going to give us a presentation on more improvements coming to Jeff Robertson Park. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I am co-chair of the Olmsted Initiative for the Garden Club of Norfolk, and we do have some exciting changes coming up at Jeff Robertson Park. Next slide, please. The Garden Club of Norfolk has been working with a variety of individuals, and I have to tell you, I had been so impressed, especially with our city personnel. Parks and Recreation have really been phenomenal for us. The Elizabeth River Trail Foundation, they are an incredible group. Dr. Laurie Fox is our horticulture specialist. She has a doctorate in horticulture, but she has a concentration in phytoremediation, which means that she knows what plants are really good to help take the toxins out of our soil. She's been a great resource on what kind of plants we should put out at Jeff Robertson Park. Our volunteers, I can't say enough about the Norfolk Master Gardeners. If there are any here, I want to thank you personally for what a wonderful group you are in helping us with our various phases of improvement at the park. Our suppliers have donated their time, given us discounts on their product. For an example, Heritage Landscaping is donating all of their labor for our project, which is really great. Next slide, please. The Olmsted Initiative is divided in 3 different sections. Would you hit the button? Okay, yeah. Phase 1 is Bluebird Arboretum, and that actually was planted in November of last year. We had 15 native trees that we put in on the southwestern portion of the park, and we were also able to rescue 6 additional trees that were planted 3 years before that had been overrun by privet and choking ivy. There's still more to be done to get rid of the privet, but it was a great improvement, and we wanted to call it Bluebird Arboretum since it used to be Bluebird Park. Next button, please. Phase 2 is the Olmsted Tribute Garden. We're going to have a layering of native trees, shrubs, and perennials there. We really want to create an ecological green way. Our goal is to improve the area for our pollinators and our wildlife. Next, thanks. Phase 3 is where the retention pond is. There are a lot of invasive plants that we want to remove, and we want to improve that area also. From afar, it looks like kind of like an overgrown dump, and it really has a lot going for it there. Okay, next slide. Now, if you're walking on the Elizabeth River Trail, you come to the little curve here at Jeff Robertson Park, and this is the view that you would have. Well, we want to change that view. Next slide, please. We have developed a landscape design. We have 17 native trees, 124 native shrubs, and over 2,000 perennials that we want to plant here at the site. Next slide. Here is a listing of 10 of our native shrubs that we are putting in. You can look and see that I have a variety of colors here. They correspond to the color of the wording of the plants. But the idea is to create a lot of interest, like 4 seasons worth. We really want this to be an exciting parcel for people to walk through and walk to and to appreciate. Next slide. We have 19 different perennials that we're going to be planting this fall. Apparently fall is the best time to plant perennials down here in Virginia. And the color of each type of flower is what that flower color is. So you can see by looking on the left, we have a nice variety of colors for our pollinators and bees. Thank you. Now, what's really exciting about this particular piece of property is there is an existing water meter vault, which means that we have the opportunity to install a hydration station. Our problem is we don't have the money for it. It's about $20,000 to install, so we're trying to get grants, looking for any businesses that might want to contribute to this. If you happen to have any ideas of individuals or businesses, get my email from Scott, because this hydration station would put Jeff Robertson Park up into another level. Next slide, please. This is what it would look like. We have, for you dog lovers or walk on the park, we have a fountain for pets below. We have a fountain for individuals, and we have a place to fill up your water bottle. And what's really nice about Jeff Robertson Park is it's really in the middle of the ERT. So if you're coming from one end and you drink your water, this is a great place to refill. It's also a great opportunity too, from our perspective, for people to appreciate all the beautiful trees and shrubs that have been planted there, because our goal in the Garden Club is to have people fall in love with our native plants and plant them in their yards to help improve our green space for our pollinators and our wildlife. Now, if you look here, this is in the blue section, that is where the hydration station would be put. Next slide. Our other goal is to put educational signs out at the park so that people will understand, why did we pick these plants and what's their value. And I have to tell you, I have been so amazed at some of the trees and what they provide, our local trees, that I had no idea. And we're going to be putting lots of information about that, again, for individuals in our community to know Do you have a potato chip yard where there's no value to any creature, or do you have a yard that is nurturing? And that's what we want to produce. Next slide, please. Now we have a legacy planting coming a week from tomorrow. At 9 a.m., we have a group of volunteers, a lot of Norfolk Master Gardeners, as well as our garden club and a few other individuals. There is a slight problem right now at the park. There was a water main that has a leak. The city did tell me today that they're hoping to get it fixed by Saturday. It depends on how extensive it is. But if everything is still a go, then October 28th, 9 a.m. is when we're going to have our planting. It's a very exciting time. It's wonderful to be able to plant and years from now to go through and know that you're responsible for what has happened at the park. So anybody here is interested in being part of it, certainly are welcome. Get my email from Scott and I can give you more of the details. Anybody have any questions?
What led you guys to do all this? And, why are we the lucky beneficiaries of this? I feel like it's I don't know what we did to deserve this.
Well, actually, it all started with Olmsted. We got a challenge from the Garden Club of America. They sent all their garden club members, which our club is a member of, and said, do a project to celebrate his 200th birthday. And I volunteered with my co-chair. We thought, sure, why not? Had no clue what that really entailed. But once we researched this man and realized that he was the creator of Central Park, and he was at that time, 200 years ago, I mean, he was, well, not when he was a baby, but he was 48, I believe, when he started that. So he was well into later part of his life. And he was such an incredible man that we decided we wanted to follow in his footsteps. But it's really hard to figure out how can you do this in Norfolk. Norfolk does not have a lot of green space. I think we're only about 3% of our area is green space. And so we went to the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation and asked, what can we do to help you? And we were grateful because they gave us, there was a lot of projects on the Elizabeth River Trail. And we chose Jeff Robertson Park because it was, we thought we could only improve the area because it was kind of blighted looking to us. It was a large parcel and we thought we could make the biggest difference. And so we just got very excited by it. And we feel fortunate to have the opportunity. So, and I have to tell you, I moved down here from Pennsylvania, and what I have found is the city is an incredible resource. They are wonderful people. I feel fortunate to have the opportunity to work with them. And if there are other projects that you all think of, let me know. I will be happy to connect you to whoever you may need to be connected with. But the city wants to have a nice looking city, and we can all be part of that. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna shift topics here to the Fairwinds Landing project. We've been it's been a kind of a segmented story over time. And so we invited Mike Hopkins to come to join us this month to share the latest updates, kind of share just the overview of what they're gonna be embarking on down there here pretty soon, right? You're gonna be breaking ground here really soon, right?
Yeah, pretty soon. It's an exciting project. Again, I'm Mike Hopkins. I'm with Fairwinds Landing. We're a local company owned by a gentleman, Jerry Miller, who's a pretty successful entrepreneur around here. We've got a number of different businesses. We have real estate development, construction, so that helps with this project. We're also very tied to the maritime defense business sector here, which is a great combination for what we're about to take on with Lambert's Point Dock. The format I'd like to have is I'm just going to kind of give an overview. Then we can have a conversation afterwards, ask any questions you want. I'm not sure if I've got all the answers right now. It's pretty early in the process, but I think we just want to have that conversation going. As a little bit of background and history, we came to learn that this property was available from Norfolk Southern about 2 years ago. And it took us 18 months to kind of close the deal with Norfolk Southern, which if you've ever dealt with a railroad, that's a record-breaking time because they don't move very fast. But we were impressed with the property when we came there. It's what I'd call a fixer-upper. But if you go there, it's a real diamond in the rough. It's kind of been left behind in time. Its history has been with a kind of a break bulk marine terminal. It's been 150 years or something crazy like that. But the problem that they had is they never kept pace with this age of containerization. So all the container ports around the waterfront has taken all the business, and the break bulk side has really dropped off. And as a result, there wasn't a whole lot of investment. The container ports taking all the business. What break bulk cargo did come through here, it ended up passing and going all the way up to Baltimore. So this property has been underutilized for some period of time. We looked at it at its natural characteristics. It's a big property, 111 acres with two 10-acre piers. You don't often find that much property available along the waterfront. It has a great waterfront infrastructure, deep water access. There's 35 feet of water depth there, which is great for shipping. They're deepening the channel. We have 6,000 linear feet of pier space for vessels. And when we saw that, we see the convergence of a couple of different industries coming, well, either growing or coming in. The first and the newest is offshore wind. Offshore wind, they have this the CVOW, the Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Project coming online in the next few years, 27 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, and then the next one is Kitty Hawk off the coast of North Carolina. Between the two, there's something like 5.2 gigawatts of electricity, which essentially means about 350 giant wind turbines about 30 miles off the coast, producing enough electricity for, I guess with that, it's probably over a million homes. Huge investment between those two projects is probably going to be, in the neighborhood of $20 billion. So that's going to just create a whole new industry up and down the East Coast and actually around the country for offshore wind. And it's very interesting in that it's brand new, and it's not too often you get to be on the ground floor of a brand new industry. That it's clean energy. How can you hate green energy? Clean energy. That's great. And Hampton Roads is uniquely positioned to really take a leadership role in that industry, just because of its location and what it has, the workforce and everything. So between the 110 acres we have here, across the river, directly across the river at PMT, there's 290. So that's 400 acres of land, of waterfront, prime real estate, deep water, no air draft restrictions that can be dedicated to this industry. And we're the envy of everybody up and down the East Coast. Other states, a little bit, afraid of the competition, have been throwing a lot of money at it. New York's throwing $500 million at its ports. New Jersey's throwing a lot of money. Virginia's being a little bit more conservative about their spending on it. But we have the natural advantage of the waterfront and the great workforce we have. The offshore wind industry has a lot of the same needs as far as skills and workforce as the shipbuilding, ship repair industry. So it's going to be a great boon for that. So with that ability to attract that new industry, and then with the shipbuilding market, there's going to be a compression of aircraft carriers being built, a new submarine program, a compression of other submarine programs. Newport News shipbuildings run out of space, so they need other space to kind of store some of these components that they're having. So this provides some space to help with that, if that's needed. And then in the niche market, there's transportation. We're going to try to take some of the offshore, some of the break bulk cargoes that is better suited for this facility, like locomotives and exporting there. So there'll be a little bit of that. So those are kind of the 3 pillars of our strategy for attracting business. Offshore wind is going to be the boulders. The storing, components of aircraft carriers will be the rocks, and then the sand will be, whatever leftover cargo we can have to fit in there. We have a 30-year lease with Norfolk Southern. We also have 2 10-year options, so we're here for the long haul. We started just in August. We began our occupancy. We have some existing tenants that we're working with, not really in our long-term plans to keep them. The primary reason is, what's happened there is it's kind of turned into a cross-loading operation. So you'll have, trucks coming in, dropping off cargo to be transloaded or from containers into trailers. And from our perspective, that's not a great use for this property. As you probably know much more than I do, there's not the best truck access going into here. So our goal is to minimize as much truck traffic as we can. We view this as a waterfront property. We either want to do water-to-water transportation, coming in by barge, going out on ship or something like that, or rail to barge, or rail to ship, or ship to rail. It's not going to be able to avoid trucks 100%, but I would anticipate that we're going to reduce the truck traffic significantly. And we can get into that later on if you have any questions on that. The goal for our tenants, we have, one tenant that's very close to signing, but it's a done deal. We're just kind of going through the formalities, and that's a real marquee tenant, and that's Dominion Energy. So Dominion Energy is going to put their operations and maintenance base here, down in this lower corner here. They're going to take up about 7.5 acres, put in a 30,000 square foot operations center that will be controlling the maritime operations and then the operation of the wind turbines themselves from that facility. They'll have some space on the pier, so they'll have these crew transfer vessels that higher speed vessels that shuttle the crews in and out of the to the wind farm, and then a service operations vessel, which is kind of a vessel that goes out for 2 weeks at a time with 70 technicians, does all the maintenance, shuttles between the turbines, and then comes back in and then stays for a day or 2 and goes back out. So we're very excited about that. They're a magnet for other companies to come in the offshore wind business. So that's kind of the phase 1 project we have. We're going to utilize this southern end of the property for more of the O&M activities. We're looking to try to attract a manufacturer for offshore wind components. These manufacturers need to be on the water. They build very either big or very heavy components, whether it's cabling that stretches for 50 kilometers or towers that are 30, 40 feet wide and weigh 150 tons on the small ones, or 1,500 tons for the big ones. Or we could do what they call these transition pieces, which is connects the towers to the foundations that go deep into the water. These things are massive structures, from top to bottom. They're bigger than the Eiffel Tower. The blades are 300 feet long. The size of them is just incomprehensible, but they need to be on the water so they can just go from, get water to water access. And then in the middle section, we want to keep that as kind of a large open area that can be used to marshal these equipment for a particular project. So these would probably be more of a project by project use, or to fabricate large structures there. But it's just kind of a flexible space to be able to keep pace with the changes in the industry and the changes in the area, because things are just are going so fast, where we don't want to get locked into one thing and then become obsolete in 5 years. So we're planning for the future. We're in here for the long haul. On the kind of how is this going to impact the communities both regionally and then locally? It's going to have a huge impact on the economic development of the Hampton Roads region between what we're doing here and what they're doing across the road, across the river at Portsmouth Marine Terminal. And then how that's going to kind of, have a ripple effect across the local economy. There's going to be a lot of job creation, capital investment, good for the city, bringing new tax dollars, new residents, good for the whole region. And it's going to be, great for the environment and just, trying to, have this infrastructure that's necessary to support this green power, green energy initiative. I just came back from a conference up in Providence, and one of the big concerns of the industry is that there's not enough ports and Hampton Roads to support this the construction that's necessary up and down the East Coast. And Hampton Roads is one of the centerpieces for trying to solve that problem. So this is a once in a generation opportunity to capture an industry. So I'm very excited about it. And then whatever we can do for the support the shipbuilding if they need extra capacity, that's great for national defense, because we've got a little bit of a capacity constraint right now to kind of help with that program. As far as more of the local community, we certainly want to be a good neighbor. We want to, make this a better spot for everybody, for the businesses, for the neighbors, and certainly for us too. Our plan is to be self-contained and have as little negative impact as possible. As far as parking goes, ultimately all the parking for employees will be on site. Dominion, with their little section there, 7.5 acres, they have something like 170 parking spots. We'll make sure that everybody has enough parking on the property so they're not bleeding out into the neighborhood. As far as now, during the transition while we're getting it built, there could be some, with the construction traffic, there may be some impact there. On parking will be self-contained, and we hope to improve it. As far as the traffic, what we've talked with the city about now, nothing's been approved, but just conceptually how we'd like to try to handle this is we want to diffuse the traffic along Orapax. So we want to have multiple entrances and different purposes for the entrances to divide and conquer, so to speak. So Dominion, because they're critical infrastructure, they require a dedicated controlled access point. So they're going to use the kind of the entrance that we have now right at the very end of Orapax. We'd like the main entrance to be along Raleigh, so it's a straight shot coming right into the Chelsea area that just go right onto the property. That would be, the truck and most of the car traffic. On the coming out of Boyd's Vein, we'd like to use that as a truck exit, so we don't have two-way truck traffic coming in. So the trucks go in one way, come out the other, so you don't have them crossing up, causing traffic problems, and it'll have less congestion. And then we'd like to have a secondary entrance down at West Olney, where it goes into the parking lot right now. And within that, we would have interior roads inside the property. So there's, would be paralleling Orapax. So there's really no need if you go through Raleigh to transit down Orapax at all. And then there'll be roads interior to get through the balance of the property, not needing to go outside the neighborhood. So as far as, capital investment in jobs, it's hard to predict what the job creation will be, or I should say the job hosting. We think it's somewhere between 500 and 1,000. It's a little bit deceiving with that because, let's say for Dominion, for example, about 140 of the 200 jobs we're projecting for Dominion will be going out to sea. So they come in once every 2 weeks and then go out and come in. So there may be some, when they coming and going, there may be a little bit of overlap, but it's not that kind of heavy traffic. We're hoping to attract Alvin Grid, who is the developer for the Kitty Hawk project, to do the same thing here. Although they may have a different location for their crews to go in and out of. That's still kind of to be determined. And then, if we have a manufacturer, these manufacturers tend to run, 2 to 3 shifts. And so it's automated plants for largely. So there's not a whole lot of people coming and going at the same time. It's not like, the ship repair type of work where, everybody's coming and going at the same time. So I think our strategy is pretty good for the property that we have and the constraints and the strengths of what we've been dealt. We competed for this project for the property with other users. And, from my opinion, I think that everybody's pretty lucky we won it because the other guys were going to be much more of a cargo centric, cargo coming in and then trucks going out type of operation, which might have been difficult to get through through the neighborhood acceptance. But it doesn't matter. It didn't happen. We won. We're looking forward to working with the neighborhood to try to make this as a win-win situation for everyone locally and regionally. And with that little speech, I'll open it up for questions or discussion. Yes.
What's the time frame for completing the wind farm?
The project here, the wind farms out. So wind farms, Dominion's hoping to get it done by the first one by 2027. So the beginning in 24, I think, well, it might be done by the end of 26. There's probably going to be what they call CVOW 2, which is another project about the same size. That's in the Virginia law, they're required to have, I think, 5.2 gigawatts of offshore wind power by 2034. The Kitty Hawk project is probably a year or two behind the Dominion project.
Once it's completed, there's going to be regular maintenance requirements.
Yes, that's why why they have the operations and maintenance base there, and so that's from our perspective, we wanted to have long-term tenants there. We're here for good. Across the river at PMT, once they build that property is, they've going to have a great piece of property, but they're going to have to find other projects. But we have much more of a steady business. I look at it as our stocks and bonds approach. We've got mostly mostly bonds, and we have a few stocks to try to make the most of our investment. Wow, you guys are an easy crowd. I thought I was going to have to keep the officer here earlier. I didn't know.
Yeah, so some of the questions so Mike, I met Mike at the last Chelsea Business Association meeting. And I think he's going back on the first. I saw him.
Yeah, the third. I'm going back sometime in the beginning of November.
So we had the opportunity to ask some questions in advance and express some of the neighborhood's concerns. I did my best, which is, I think that management of the transitional period, we'll call it, while you're getting, demolition and construction done, it's probably, there'll be some, I suspect there'll be some growth pains associated with that.
I would think so.
And I think we're working closely with the Chelsea Business Association, with the city and with, Mike's team to try to manage that the best we can, right? All in all, I mean, I think it's, my personal opinion is it's a clear win for the city and a clear win for the state that we can bring in this business. Just a matter of accommodating that economic growth in a way that doesn't disrupt our neighborhood, right? So we're looking forward to it, and thus far we've been communicating a lot and keeping closely abreast of the process that we're going through with the city, the site plan and all these other things.
Yeah, and we'll continue to do that. We'll try to be as open and transparent as we can. Sometimes, developers get a bad rap for not disclosing plans ahead. We'll try to be open. However, sometimes we have, we're not sure what's going to happen. We have confidentiality agreements. And so to the extent we can, we'll try to be as open as possible. I did meet with the city on Friday, and they're a great group to work with. I think so you had mentioned that, very cooperative. The state economic development folks are very cooperative, and the 757 Alliance, everybody has been really great. I think we're all trying to achieve the same goals and minimize whatever, impacts it would have on the neighborhood.
And I've been trying to keep up with it.
Parking lot on that property.
Yes,
Do you know the timeline of when that will be no longer?
it's going to go through at least the end of the year, and then whether it extends, month by month after that depends on how the construction permits and all that goes. But we've told them, before we even moved in that, it was going to be a limited duration. I think that lot probably, if maxed out, it's probably about 120 cars, I believe, by my count. Right now, is a little bit of a dip in ship repair business. So, it's somewhat cyclical. So, that could be, not be as much of a problem because it happens to be a low time. I don't know what they're doing. I know the city's been working with MHI to try to find, a better solution. That's really not my. Yeah, I know. I'm just pointing that out. And
Like, just to clarify, too, this is already zone industrial, right?
yes, it's in.
This doesn't require a rezoning.
Correct.
It's a by right.
Yes, it's industrial deep water to, by right. And it's been, it's been a marine terminal for, yeah. And, most people don't even know there's that much land back there. It's pretty massive facility.
To be clear, like, the potential for storage of new construction, shipbuilding work or other stuff is the part that necks down to the east.
This is really, I mean, this can change. Nothing's firm. It's just really conceptual. I mean, depending on who we're talking to at a different time. Yeah, I mean, the Dominion side is pretty well set along here. I think along here, we plan to remove that middle pier to create a large, 1,300-foot quayside berth, because these components weigh so much. The piers aren't strong enough to handle it. So you have to go on land. We got to beef up, put in piles along the waterfront to be able to have that strength. So that middle section will be open, and then where any kind of buildings may be would be, built around that. The desire is to keep them, either along the side, along the coal terminal, or in front.
So for the neighborhood, I would say that we've been in pretty good communication with both the city and his team. As I said, we'll try to, as we get updates, it's kind of a slow moving situation, but we'll try to keep newsletter updates, just keep the vehicle to keep you abreast of what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say, you know, the first things that's gonna happen, as far as kind of construction is demolition of some of the buildings, and building some of the interior access points. You know, the actual construction of, like the Dominion building, probably not gonna happen until the Q2 of '23. But we're hoping to start, you know, some of the demolition work, you know, Q1 of '23.
Hello.
Hello? Is there a
Hi, there is a question. I've been trying to chat with the Civic League people. This is Mary Margaret Lyons. And I do appreciate your transparency and what you're trying to do. I guess I'm still a little confused. You're assuming a lot of traffic patterns by people, you know, that are going to come in and out on Redgate or come in and out on Boissevin or come in and out on Olney. But what about people coming from the north that are coming up Hampton Boulevard and they're going to cut through the neighborhood? And I recognize there may or may not be anything you can do about that, but what has been considered about that issue?
Well, I haven't really considered anything about it. I think you know, I know the city's talked about doing a traffic study and we may have a traffic study done. We're focused more on how do we get in and out of the property as opposed to how people are getting into the business area in general. But I understand the concern and I think that's something that has to be looked at. I just don't have a very good answer for you. I don't even know the extent of the problem. But we can certainly look into that.
What do we do to, if you can tell us, what do we do to have that looked into? Because we have a lot of problems on the south end of the neighborhood with MHI. Forget about the parking, but with the traffic on Redgate and Claremont. I mean, they're just speeding and whatever, you know, so what's the thought process, I guess?
I think that's something that, you know, that the city is going to have to look at and we'll work with them. There's not much I can do with something outside of the neighbor, outside of my property. So I know I think, yeah.
So, yeah, you're definitely, that concern is, you know, I certainly understand your concern. And then that same exact concern has been expressed by a number of other people, particularly in the southern end of the neighborhood. The city has agreed to add on to the infrastructure study that they're doing to support the casino going in, basically looking at road patterns and traffic patterns that would support the new casino. They glommed on to that and they added a part to study traffic patterns going into and out of Chelsea specifically. I would say it's early in that. I have signs of life. There's a pulse there, but I wouldn't say that there's been any definitive products developed yet. I can tell you that I spoke with, or I emailed back and forth with Pat Roberts, the deputy city manager that's responsible for this. And we are moving forward with a traffic calming initial design and idea generation for Redgate Avenue, because that's been a very consistent concern of folks from the neighborhood. And we had a discussion on this at last month's meeting. If you're interested in that, we certainly invite you to look at the video on our website from last month. And they've committed to get back to us with, they listened to our concerns last month. And I think maybe in the spring, we'll be at a juncture where we talk about possibilities of things that they can do. And then we got to look into funding on these various projects. So more to come on that. It's definitely one of our biggest kind of open agenda items for the Civic League in general. So thank you for the question.
Just to make sure, and I do appreciate the fact that you're looking into Redgate, but I live on Westover. So maybe we can make sure that they're thinking Westover as well, because if you put the traffic calming on Redgate, they're coming to Westover. And that worries me. So how do we do that?
I think that we're just gonna, I definitely understand your concern. We're gonna encourage the city to look at the problem holistically and not play whack-a-mole with it. We want
Thank
them to, yeah. Yeah, because I hear you, you shut down one avenue and the other one, happens more. So we'll encourage them to think through that holistically.
All right, any other questions? Hey, this is the best I've done. This has been under an hour. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, thanks for coming, yeah. All right.
Oh, one,
Not necessarily a question for the presenter, but, they're wondering how any of this additional industry will affect property value.
I would think they would go up. I mean, there's gonna be, people who are gonna want to, live close, and more demand is same supply. Generally, that means prices go up.
I think that, if that's something that you're interested in exploring, we can put that on, I'd be interested in if you have any, ideas on that topic, but, we can certainly reach out to some professionals in the real estate sector here in the area, and they can provide, I certainly, as a submariner, I'm not gonna be able to advise you on that at the current moment, but, I think we can ask around and perhaps have someone, talk to us about that in a future meeting. So I think that's a good question. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
hope to see you all Saturday.